All right. Well, I think we're ready to go. Welcome, everyone. I am Reverend Megan Foley. I'm the regional lead for the Central East region, and it's wonderful to have you with us tonight as we're all excitedly preparing for going to Kansas City shortly. I know I'll be leaving on Monday, and I expect that most of you on this call will be going over the course of the early part of next week as well. So it's fabulous that we have the opportunity yet again here from GA attendee extraordinaire Eric Birch, who will walk us through an orientation. I am recording it so other people can see it, so everybody be on your best behavior. I also have everybody muted just so we don't have a lot of unexpected noise, but you should be able to unmute yourself if need be, and I think there's going to be a question period at the end if I remember correctly. So I'm ready to just turn it over to Eric if you're ready, and we'll get started.
Okay. Yeah, well, here we are, the General Assembly orientation there. Oh, and I think Megan just muted herself. Good. My name's Eric Birch, and I've been to several General Assemblies, and for the Washington region, I'm out of Rockville, Maryland, for the Washington region, and now for Central East region. I've been doing this General Assembly orientation for a few years, and so this is the 2018 version of this. Every General Assembly has a motto, has something there. This year it is all are called. So all of us are called. So welcome. One thing is here in Zoom meetings, you can put some information in chat if you wish, or ask questions in chat, and maybe we will notice them. And I hope everybody is seeing my slide that says welcome. I don't quite get feedback other than I get a little green light on my screen here. These slides are available at a very long URL. But if you just send me an email at ericlbirch@gmail.com, I will send these to you. But the big thing is, I'll say just to start off with, is that the UUA has a General Assembly webpage, a whole bunch of web pages. So I would strongly recommend that you spend an hour or two, or even 6 hours at somewhere in there. That you can find videos from previous GAs. You can find a lot of information that we will have there. A lot of things that I'm going to talk about, you will be able to find there. There's also a preparation package you can get. One thing, I don't know if you can see my personal video there, but there's my delegate credential from 2016. There's all sorts of little tags at the bottom. You can get a GA ready badge ribbon if you go fill out some of the things. There's a little one-page prep thing. If you get all the little check marks, you can get a new little piece of flair. Just talk about Kansas City very briefly. I've only driven through Kansas City. I have an aunt who lives there. I'm going to visit her too. Basically, Kansas City has, let me kill some things here. Kansas City has about 2 million people. It's known for great barbecue, even vegan barbecue. They call themselves the City of Fountain. So there is a website there, visit kc.com. You learn many things about Kansas City, like the downtown streetcar is free to ride. So something to learn there. If you're going to be flying into the KCI airport, the airport KCI, it's about 23 miles north of downtown, a little bit of a haul. The taxi was about $50 if you're going to do that. There's also ridekc.org, which is a public transit planning website. Bus 229 runs about every hour to downtown for $1.50. Uber Lyft available. Isn't Uber like everywhere now? I'm not sure. I haven't checked into that. So my plan is that myself and a few other people are going to be taking a very early morning flight southwest on Monday. We'll discover what to do. Okay, so Megan says yes, we do have Uber and Lyft available. There is also a shuttle service. It runs between $16 and $75. Not sure what it is, if they're talking about splitting up the the cost of a ride or something, but that's what, if you go to flykci.com, they'll tell you that the shuttle to downtown is $16 to $75. So there is a bus option available, and there's taxis. If GA works like it works a lot of times, you'll find other Unitarians on the Unitarian Universalists on the airplane. You can have some fun. Wednesday itself, there is an orientation session at 1:30 in the afternoon. There's a youth orientation at 3 o'clock. If you have youth that you're sponsoring, I believe you have to go to the youth orientation to know your responsibilities. That's kind of something very important. You will discover Wednesday afternoon, there's a group networking opportunity from 4:30 to 6. They are not going to have regional in-gatherings. There's no district in-gatherings anymore, but what they do are affinity groups will have networking sessions from 4:30 to 6, and they are listed in your program book. The first big event is the banner parade, and general session number 1 starts at 7 p.m. So that is Wednesday. Oh, the first choir rehearsal is at 1:30 on Wednesday all. If you're in the choir, you know that. Okay, so you're not getting audio because you're muted by Eric. I hope people hear me except for Karen. And I hope Karen hears me too. Okay, so the first thing about, if you've never been to General Assembly before, the first thing you got to learn about the UUA is the UUA is made up of congregations. We are buildings, not people. That's wrong, but the Unitarian Universalist Association of Congregations is an association of congregations. And as a delegate, you are representing your congregation in General Assembly there. The purpose of the UUA is to equip congregations and leaders and to use our prophetic voice in the world, right? We provide support to congregations through coaching, companioning, connecting, and challenge. These are words that Megan gave me. They're pretty neat. They also do practical nuts and bolts things like run a healthcare system, print hymnals, figure out professional credentialing. Do you have, our ministers competent to lead your congregation? Help you with things like search assistance, RE course development, many, many other things. They run a bookstore, stuff like that. The UUA is administered through regions. There are 5 regions, I hope. There's also some additional 7th principle web support through clusters. So everybody, we're clustering some congregations together. Megan is the UUA rep for my cluster, capital cluster there. The president of the UUA, Reverend Susan Frederick Gray, she is the chief executive officer. So when it comes to the routine kind of boring things like personnel decisions and delegating, ordering papers and stuff like that, that's how that business side of the UUA runs. It's governed by a board of trustees. There are 14 elected trustees. 11 of them are at-large trustees. The moderator of the UUA is the chief governance officer, traditionally the highest level volunteer position, and the moderator leads the board during the board meetings and also the General Assembly. During General Assembly, the board kind of takes a break. It's now, and instead of 14 members of the board, we have 1,700 Unitarian Universalists who are trying to run the organization for a few days. That'll be fun. The UUA, okay, there we go. Karen is in there. Okay, the UUA, through the president, will take a stand on some issues based on input from the member congregations. And a lot of this input comes during General Assembly. So, and that includes statements of conscience and actions of immediate witness. So if something comes up during the year or has come up during the year, people sometimes say actions of immediate witness aren't as effective, it's only for this, but they can go back to AIWs and say, look, we had at least some group of Unitarian Universalists who thought that this was an important thing to take a stand on, and for this immediate thing, we will take a stand on it. The 7 principles are the base of the covenant that binds us together. So if you don't know, all of your principles by number, you should, because you'll hear things like the 5th principle task force. Well, what is the 5th principle? Of course, that is the one where we affirm and promote the use of the democratic process. So you'll hear, oh, okay, there's a GA code for the Superstar Shuttle there. We'll come back to that. But the 7 principles root our congregations together. It's the covenant that binds us together. So one of the things about GA speak is people will just kick off principles by number, and you should know that. The UUA also has a global ends and shared vision statement, and it's on page 63 of the program book. So the UUA itself tries to, the association itself tries to live by some global ends to support the congregations and other things like that. So administratively, we also have some means to an end that is very important. The next thing that is that General Assembly itself is very important to the UUA. So it's our annual meeting where we're going to get together, talk about the status of the association, figure out where we are. We provide input to the business operations of, things like there is, for example, a budget hearing. Now it's pretty much a hearing, but you can get some information about where the association is spending its money. Things like that. We also decide on social action issues. Okay, there's some single or multi-year kinds of operations that we do. We vote on statements of conscience during the General Assembly. We acknowledge milestones such as ministers coming into fellowship, DREs and music directors becoming credentialed, things like that. We also acknowledge retirements and people who have passed on. We elect our association's officers during General Assembly. I believe we have a moderator election coming up. There's also always trustees that are being voted on and stuff. Unfortunately, I don't know those details yet. I'm going to have to learn them in the next week. And we also get reports from various commissions and committees of the UUA. We hear about things like the status of Beacon House and Skinner Press and things like that. General Assembly allows our individual congregations to gather and speak with a common voice. We've had more than 500, we might be up to about 550 statements of social justice of some sort since 1961. And it's an important function of our congregational polity, right? We don't have a clerical governance structure. We are Congregationalists. So it is me and you and all of the other Unitarian Universalists, along with the ministers and all of our called staff. But, theologically, it's us, okay? And we know that. Okay, so 2018, every year I put in a little blurb about some of the things that are happening at the UUA. Actually, 2017 was a pretty traumatic year. 2018, we're still going through some of the ramifications of some of the stuff that happened last year. Last year, white privilege in the UU world reached a tipping point. The 8th principle work, which has actually been going on for quite a while. It's building steam. If you haven't heard about the 8th principle, basically there's a movement afoot to incorporate the ideas of what's called the 8th principle, maybe an additional principle, maybe going back and reworking the existing 7 principles. I think this year there will be some discussions and such on that. Anyway, the 8th principle, if you haven't seen the words there, it will be that we covenant to affirm and promote journeying towards spiritual wholeness by working to build a diverse, multicultural, beloved community by our actions that accountably dismantle racism and other oppressions in ourselves and our institutions. So I know that my congregation in Rockville, we had a congregational meeting, and we have affirmed as a congregation that we do support the incorporation of these words into our principles. We'll see what happens. There's some new CSAIs to be considered this year. So you'll learn that we do every so often, every 2 years, I believe, we pick up some congregational study and action issues. So we can choose one of these two, or maybe zero, perhaps. And they're described on page 73 and 74 of your program book. So in the next slide, I'll tell you all about the program book. The preliminary agenda, well, actually now, since I've done this, the full agenda, there's several bylaw revisions. There always are. We're going to simplify our social witness resolution procedures. We're continuing to remove some gendered language in our bylaws. We're improving congregational linkages. Now that we have gotten rid of most of the districts, it used to be that congregations could go up to the district that could then go up to the Board of Trustees for issues and such. Now there is some language in the bylaws, since we're getting rid of getting rid of districts. Regions are not, don't have the governance structure to allow some of these communications to happen. So the thing is, Dennis Wellnitz, who was president of the JPD, who is also a member of the Rockville congregation, this is very important to him. So it's very important to me then. Oh, it also allows for co-moderators and such like that. Because one of the things that has happened during 2018 is that the search committee, nominating committee, has been unable to find candidates for the moderator. So currently we have two interim co-moderators, Mr. Barb Grieve and Alondria Williams. I believe there's a moderator election during this GA, because they are both, oh, okay, Susan Geckler says, no, there isn't. Okay, so, okay, but I believe they're in an interim position. So we'll see. Okay, I'll watch Susan for yeses and nos here. Thank you. Okay, and there's also one thing that I heard. I will mention that there was a Board of Trustees webinar that was like last week or 2 weeks ago. You should listen to that. Part of that is there's a bylaw review commission that is looking at how we run General Assembly and stuff. So there's some talk about in Spokane, next year's GA is going to introduce a new style of GA. I don't know what that means, but one of the complaints that we always have is that if you know Robert's Rules of Order, of course I know Robert's Rules of Order, it works great, but unless you're aware of all the parliamentary procedures and all of our rules of order and stuff like that, sometimes you don't, you will have very important things that are buzzing in your head and you have to get out somehow. You can't do it on the general meeting floor. You have to do it in a mini assembly. So if you get anything else out of this this presentation right here, mini assemblies are really important. If there's something that there will be an agenda announced for every mini assembly, and if there's something in there that's really important, let's say there's a bylaw change and you look at the proposed bylaw change and you say, that does not work, this works better, okay? We're always open to be improvements of our resolutions and stuff like that. You do that during a mini assembly, okay? By the time we get to the vote on the general session floor, that's too late. And even if you propose something during the mini assembly and it doesn't make it to the general session floor, you can still bring it up during the general session because it was brought up during the mini assembly. You just, the bylaw review commission is looking at the rules, and so we're trying to improve the rules. Okay. There are, if you've never been to General Assembly, or even if you've been to General Assembly many times, there's about 87 pages of General Assembly speak. You will hear things and it's like, what is that? Don't be afraid to ask somebody for a translation on the fly, because chances are you're not the only one who's confused by all that. One of the things I work with at work or any place else is there are really no stupid questions, because if you don't understand it, chances are there's enough other people who don't understand it either. So don't be afraid to ask. So, for example, you'll hear I've just even used a few things: CSAI, AIW, SOC, CSWs there. So the Commission on Social Witness, every day you will get a CSW alert during General Assembly. This is from a few years ago. That talks about what's happening with the actions of immediate witness or the CSAI process and things like that. The Commission on Social Witness runs that process. And it's how we as an association make statements on social items. So as I said before, SOCs and AIWs justify actions by the UUA staff. Actually, I gave this out. I did this presentation a few weeks ago because some people are thinking about actions of immediate witness right now, okay? And if you have, there's an email address that you should have sent things to by June 1st. And I believe they have put up in a website someplace all of the AIWs that they have heard about right now. Because if you do want to propose an AIW by Thursday of GA, you have to file a bunch of paperwork. So if you aren't ready to do that, by the time you fly into Kansas City, you won't be ready to do that, because it does take a lot of work to get these working. And there are people who have been working on them already. So the thing is that if you're thinking of an action of immediate witness, probably somebody else has too. And so get with them when you're in Kansas City there. You'll hear about general sessions. And the thing is, I will call them plenaries, because for decades they were called plenaries. A plenary just means everything. That's where all the delegates get together. We hear reports, we vote on things. If you are a delegate, plan to be at all of the plenaries, all of the general sessions. Okay. Mini assemblies, as I said, during workshop times, the workshop slots and stuff like that, there will be mini assemblies, and that's really where the nuts and bolts of editing words and stuff like that happens. They happen in the mini assemblies there. So if you are interested in some agenda items, go to the mini assemblies. Very important there. Blue, BLUU, Black Lives of UU, Drum, Diverse and Revolutionary UU Multicultural Ministries, and ARE, Allies for Racial Equity. You will hear those three acronyms or abbreviations dropped all over the place. And those are racial justice movements within the UUA. So as I said, this is just page one of various things, and that's the only page I'm going to talk about right now. Because what happens at General Assembly spreads everywhere, doesn't stay just at GA. First thing, just some of the things that are going on. One is ministry days. So we're showing up on Wednesday, but many ministers and stuff have been around for Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, or a few days before, and they are going into workshops of their own. They're discussing some big things that may be happening within the UUA. So the ministers are getting together to support each other and do stuff like that. So there's the general sessions. There are workshops. So if you're on site, you can attend many of the workshops. There's UUA business workshops, which are things like, as I said, the budget hearing. There's always a presentation on if you need funding from the UUA for some special project, how you can get that going, how you can improve your congregation, how you can run a better canvas, things like that. And then there's also a lot of workshops just on improving yourself personally. So we'll talk about those. There's worship. If you like going to church, you can go to church every morning and every evening. So there we are. There is the Service of the Living Tradition, which is our annual big service to acknowledge various milestones in people's lives, and really exciting there. There is a Sunday service open to the public during, if you have friends or relatives in Kansas City, Sunday they can come and visit us and go to worship and visit the exhibit hall. There we go. There's also affinity groups. They're doing worship during the day, during these workshop sessions primarily. So I'm in CLF, so I have to go to the big CLF worship service, of course. This year they're introducing poster sessions. Previously, I think it was like in March and stuff like that, if you could submit an idea for a poster session and, just be there. I'm not sure where it is, maybe next to the exhibit hall, but they ask the people who are sponsoring the topics to be there so you can go and talk with them. That's something new this year. There's a WARE lecture is Brittany Packnett. I heard her on Pod Save America the other week. So the WARE lecture is Saturday night. It's kind of a big event. I think it's Saturday night, maybe Friday night. I'll have to check. We do have some public witness events. Again, the WARE lecture, special events. There's the exhibit hall. So if you need to buy a new stole, if you need a new database system for your church, I went and bought one a few years ago at General Assembly, things like that. There's activities every night. There's some dances and other goofy things going on. Affinity group meetings. Choir rehearsal. Somebody mentioned that, yeah, there's the first choir rehearsal is on Wednesday. And if you were interested in the choir or are interested in the choir, there is a separate registration for that. There we go. UU World, WARE lecture is Saturday night. Okay. Oh, and what is CLF? Okay. Somebody asked. That's the Church of the Larger Fellowship. That is the largest congregation in the UUA. It is the church without walls. So it is the mail order church. So, and Meg Riley is there. She lived in DC for a while. I got to be friends with her. There we go. That's CLF. UU World is doing some video. They had a video, I think, of 2 years ago of me looking for my congregation's banner that they put up on the web and in the exhibit hall, because Rockville's banner, for whatever reason, took me like 2 days to find it. They put it in literally the worst place you could imagine. It was behind a desk someplace, and it was like, who, I asked, who did we get mad at us on the planning committee to deserve such a fate? So UU World is there doing some blogging and running video. Acting on the Side of Love. I think we're still using yellow t-shirts for that, or macaroni and cheese yellow. And you will meet friends old and new at General Assembly. So again, get ready before you go, okay? There's that website again, uua.org/GA. There's also forums underneath, although it appears the forums were locked. So they said that there was a big problem with spam. Download the program book, okay? It is, it's many pages long. Once you get to Kansas City, they will have a few printed out, but really I like downloading the PDF because you can always just search into it and things like that. So if you read the program book, in fact, do I have it up? Oh, I don't have it up right now. You can read pages 1 through 6. They contain a lot of information, and then skim through the other 150 of them. So one thing that I do is I go into the program book, and they have like a 1-page summary of what happens like on Saturday, okay, June 23rd. And here's one for Friday. It prints it's on 2 pages and basically gives you all of the workshops and stuff like that. I always print this out, and I always put little codes on there to let me know what's going on, because when you're going through looking for workshops and stuff, it's sort of nice to have a reliable piece of paper that you can just pull out and figure out where you want to go to next. And the thing is many times there's many things I'm interested in doing at the same time. And if I go to one workshop and it's like full or, you know, isn't working for me, maybe I can sneak out and go to another one and stuff like that. There's a few workshops I really should go to, but there are, what, 6 workshop sessions, you know. But so what I do is I just print that out. Yes, and you can download it from the app. Do I mention the app? I should. Yes. So yeah, load the UUA General Assembly app to your smartphone. So there's a cute little app. Let me see here. Where? As I come right there, it's got you can probably just barely see it. It just has our flaming chalice logo there. It comes up and it has a schedule on it. And there's a bunch of chat on it, and people are putting pictures up on it. Everybody who downloads the app, there's an attendee list. So everybody who downloads it, you can find them, and then you could follow them, and you can message them. And so if there's a particular minister you like or something, you can, you know, or even your minister, you can go and you can click on them, and you will find out where they are, because the schedule is available on there. I will tell you, a few years ago, and it's probably still true, you can the thing about the app was it would not, you know, if you signed up for a workshop at 10 o'clock, it may or may not tell you about that. You could put it into your calendar on your phone, and then your calendar would kick off every so often. But the experience I had was that if you could download your schedule once, but the thing is, if you change something on your schedule, it wouldn't update your phone's calendar. So there it is. There's also an old app you can find in the App Store called Illuminations. It's still around, and you can always have a little chalice to light. So I like Illuminations for that. Before you go, be familiar with the SAIC's bylaw amendments, business items, okay? Pages 63 to 83 of the 2018 program book. If you're a delegate, get ready to vote on these, okay? Don't be surprised, please, okay? Things like that. Oh, okay. There's also a Board of Trustees webinar, which I'll talk about in the next slide, which was very useful. They talked a lot in detail about the business items. So that's, and that was really important to do. That's where, for example, I learned about the rules of procedure for next year changing and stuff like that. And Susan Geckler is there. She has a section on how the CSW works, so how the CSAIs work, how the AIWs are working right now, and how they may change in the future. Be sure to bring a messenger bag or a backpack, water bottle, maybe a sweater for cold rooms. Okay, this is a convention center. If you've never been to such places, sometimes your room is either uncomfortably hot or uncomfortably cool. They are never nicely temperature there. I have a little battery briquette for my phone because of course it loses its charge about halfway through the day. And download the documents, and if you can't put them on your smartphone, okay, download the program book and stick it on your smartphone there. Very important there. So again, the Board of Trustees had a webinar, and that's the URL there. I believe it's someplace under the GA thing, but it was a discussion of business items that comes up. It's about a 60-minute long Zoom meeting. It was from last week. And I watched the replay, and it was very good. And they also have the slides that they showed at the webinar at that URL there. UU Planet, Peter Bowden, last week came up with a pretty nice, comprehensive talk about what to expect, tips for attending the GA. Now that you've seen this, you don't need to see Peter's thing, or no. He brings up some different things and stuff like that. So uuplanet.org. So that's an interesting website that Peter runs to help out the denomination a bit. One thing that's I just do want to mention is that there's some blue and anti-racism activities. Tomorrow, Black Lives UU is going to be having a webinar at 7 p.m. So if you're interested in what Blue is going to be up to, I encourage you to listen to that webinar there. One thing is at the convention center, there is Black Lives of UU Healing Space in room 1501C. There's also a bunch of drum programming, which is going to be on page 42 of the front of the program book. There's also multiple workshops on racial justice, social justice, theology. That theexology is a new thing that I noticed in the program book this year. Maybe I'm just out of the cool kids there, but that's on page 11 and 12 of the program book. They do have multiple workshops about that. About your congregation, if you're going with a congregation, before you go, give everybody your cell phone number. Okay, for Rockville, I have a little Google spreadsheet that I'm keeping track of things. Text messaging probably works best. The phones are getting better, but you know, when you're calling somebody, they're probably in a crowd. Text messages, they're there, they're written down, they're in black and white. You don't get too lost. For your congregation, find out everyone's hotels, flights, comings and goings, and plan to get together for a dinner or maybe a breakfast. One thing about General Assembly is that various groups get together and have dinner, and that's good. But sometimes you can only get together for breakfast. That's good too. Don't forget your banners and polls on this. It's mostly a reminder to myself, so I pick them up on Sunday. So that's. If you do have somebody in the banner parade. By the way, the banner parade's actually kind of fun for somebody who goes the first time. They think, oh, they're going to miss a lot of stuff. No, the backstage at the banner parades is a lot of fun. Will these slides be made available to us? Yes, if I can go back to where that was there. When you arrive in Kansas City, make sure everybody arrived and figure out a place to meet in the plenary hall. Or Rockville likes to meet up about towards the front, about a third of the way to the right. And if there's nobody else that you know, send me a little note and I'll check in to make sure that you made it. That's fine. Because there are many congregations who just send one person, and that's good. Okay, so you're told by your congregation that polls are provided on site. Yes, there are some. The word is some, okay? So at the, when you're talking about the banner parade polls and stuff like that, someplace in the GA, they talk about banner parade. They tell you how to make polls. It's literally like $5 worth of stuff. It's not that hard. It's a long piece of PVC pipe and a few fittings, and there we are. Okay. And somebody found my presentation slides there. There we go. Okay, coming down the home stretch here. So the delegate game is, be sure to bring your delegate credential to Kansas City, right? You should have received a piece of mail from from the UUA, from your that has looks like this, has some numbers on it and stuff. Be sure to bring that to Kansas City. I guess you could also load it on your cell phone and just have it scanned in. If you're a delegate, as soon as you get your voting card, and I just had it here. I lost my voting card. No, write your name on the voting card before you walk away from the desk. I have seen probably 4 times somebody drop their voting card at the desk, and they tell you on the voting card, these things are very hard to replace. So be sure to put your name on it as soon as it gets handed to you, okay? Because without your voting card, you use it to vote, and you also use it to approach the microphone during debate. So sometimes the tellers will say, well, where's your voting card? And if you don't have it, you cannot speak, because delegates get to speak at the microphone and during general sessions. Isn't that nice? again, understand the business process and agenda. Okay, so it's not quite Robert's Rules of Order. It's our own sort of funny rules of order, but it is our rules of order, right? And like the one that I've been hammering in on you is go to the mini assemblies, right? That's as I say, if you get nothing else out of this thing, attend the mini assemblies if you care about that stuff. Okay. Be aware of the rules of procedure. They'll talk about the 4 microphones. There's a pro microphone, a con microphone, a procedure microphone, an amendment microphone. There's tellers to help you around. People who are off-site, they actually have a process for people who are off-site, and they have a teller who will stand in your place if you're an off-site delegate. And then when they get up to the microphone, they then switch the audio to go to the phone system, so the off-site delegate can speak. Read the proposed business items, keep up with the CSW alerts that get printed every day. I hear that they're planning on not printing as many of these things, and they're going to send things to the General Assembly app on your smartphone. So there we go. The UUA bylaws are available for download. I know that last year I did we did some things that were contrary to the bylaws, and even though I was off-site, I got a little bit of work done because, the bylaws are the rules that we live by, and there we are. So, off-site delegates can participate in business operations remotely. If you're helping running GA as a volunteer, and I know several people who have, or if you're in the choir, if you can make it to the general sessions, you should have enough slack to be a good delegate. Okay, so I know people who volunteered to help out with GA, and were also delegates, and they were worried that this is it's like don't worry too much about it. And I also plan to take a nap instead of attending at least one workshop session, because one thing that you will learn is that this is a long day. So there's special events to attend again. The GA smartphone app, as I mentioned, is more important this year. There's an exhibit hall. If you're going to buy a lot of stuff, and you probably will, you can be sure to leave space in your luggage. Or the other thing I do is I just pack it up and have it UPS back home. So there we go. You're going to walk a lot. Okay. That's just welcome to the convention there. They will have scooter rentals available. They will remind you that it's scooters first in meeting rooms and elevators. So that's there's a lot of people with scooters because there's a lot of walking there. There's going to be cold rooms, warm rooms. Bring a water bottle, ibuprofen. My back will not last during GA, but I'll carry lots of Motrin. The 521 rule. I attend science fiction conventions. They talk about Rule 521 or 521 rule. So every day you should need 5 hours of sleep and 2 sit-down meals. You have to sit down, even if it's on steps. You have to sit down, and you must take 1 shower. So that's Rule 521. Don't forget it. There's chaplains. They're always available. They will, I think many times they have a hat that says chaplain on them. There's a right relationship team. There's also what's called new this year is a thing called the safety team. So, I'm an obnoxious white guy, and I admit that. And sometimes I say things that are not, terribly you at times. And the thing to do is, if you see something like that, just remind people, jerks like me, that I'm acting like a lout. Okay. And for some people, for most people, it's like, okay, it's been rough and stuff like that. But if it's more than that, or you don't want to confront the person or something like that, there is a right relationship team. They usually have on some particular color. You can go to a right relationship team person and talk to them, and they will try to figure out what to do about that. New this year is a thing called the safety team. Turns out that the police in Missouri have a reputation, and we may not necessarily get the police involved in some things. I believe that's what they're being set up for. So if you see friction, the right relationship team is where you should go. If you see trouble, look for the safety team. Okay, we want to the General Assembly should be a safe place, and we have to work at that at times. And some people just aren't jerks like I am. Okay, and sometimes people don't want to admit that they're jerks. Many times I don't. That's fine. You don't have to try to do everything. Okay, someplace in there it says you cannot be 3 places at once. Okay. After General Assembly, you will get an email that says, hey, here's your user ID and password, and here are recordings of most of the workshops. Here are, if there were handouts, you can download PDFs of the handouts and things like that. So after General Assembly, when you go back to your congregation, you can download these things and distribute them within the congregation. There's video of all of the general sessions, and you can, even from previous years, are going to stream it as it's going on, and it will be available after General Assembly there. There is a bulletin board area. Every year I check it, it gets smaller and smaller. So, but it used to be many years ago, that was one of the places everyone would hang out, because that was kind of the only place you could get, hey, people from Rockville, I'm going to be at this place here, and remember, the bottom line, in your congregation or at General Assembly, you are loved and accepted, okay? As, somebody said many years ago, it's church, right? It's like, so, we're trying to make the world a better place, and, remember that. Okay, so this is the last slide. I don't know, Megan, do we have other people who wish to speak? I don't think so. I think all I'm ready to do is just take questions, and there's the future General Assemblies, including the 2020 Assembly in the great town of TBD. So there we go. So let's go through. Okay, so I see in the chat here, I've been trying to kind of look at it. Let me see what's in the chat here.
I think a main question, interesting question from Justice about if there's no one to actually walk the banner, should they still bring it, and what would they do with it? And then I think Jackie suggested that you check the program book on that. There's a question about the crime rate in Kansas City. I don't know anything about that, but I have not heard any official words of warning or anything, which I do believe that they will tell you early on if there's anything particular to be worried about. I would just use your city behavior. And I'm not sure, there's a whole bunch of other questions that weren't answered by someone else.
Hey Megan, it's Justice. Can I follow up on my question about the banner really quickly?
Yeah.
So I was digging around in the program book at Jackie's direction, and I did find the passage, thanks to Eric's direction about the program app. The program booklet. I searched it electronically, found the section very easily, and the passage does give very clear instructions about how to register the banner, gives some suggestions about leaving personal items behind in order to protect them, etc. But it doesn't say, the language there doesn't say anything that would suggest that we could bring the banner after the fact. And as a matter of fact, there's a passage in there that leads me to believe otherwise. And I'm just curious if anybody on the call has had experience where they've had to bring the banner after the banner parade, either Wednesday evening or Thursday morning, to see whether or not people have been able to actually check it in and get it displayed to pick up later at the end of the conference on Sunday.
Yeah, I don't have experience with that. I don't.
Okay, just curious. I didn't want to bring it down if we can't display it.
Justice, this is Carol Walker.
Hey, Carol.
Hi. I would suggest contacting the GA planning office to ask the question, because usually there's a person to carry the banner, either from your congregation or another congregation in the GAs I've attended. So I think that's an unusual question, and I think you need to to see if you can get in touch with somebody from the GA planning office.
Mhm. Okay, thank
And
you.
And this
and if you go to that
this-
site, you'll see the list of people and what their specialties are.
this is Susan Geckler, and I will add, I'm sure that it would have to be turned in on Wednesday evening. It couldn't be brought on Thursday because they by the time you come back on Thursday morning, all the banners are up, and so I don't think they could do it after that.
Understood. All very helpful. Thank you.
Right, and in the chat, if you sometimes people can't get the chat going, but it does say during the first session on Thursday, we'll probably get details about the right relationship and safety teams, including how to contact them, and then also concerns over NAACP issuing travel alert for people of color in Missouri. That is true. That's why the safety team, I believe, was set up. So that's some more data.
Any other questions? Well, I will be there from Monday through Sunday, as I mentioned. So I don't have a particularly unique GA constituency, so I'm just gonna be wandering around. If you'd like to chat with me, feel free. It'd be great to see you there. I look forward to a fun time and a safe and gratifying GA. I think it's gonna be really interesting. Thank you, Eric, for your hard work on this, and good luck, everyone. It'll be nice to see you next week.
Thanks, everyone.
Kansas City, woo!
Thank you.
Take care, everyone. Have a good night. Thanks, Eric.